really quickly, before we jump into the video, I want to remind everybody, and no pressure to buy, but if you are looking for Scarlet and Violet, Mega, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, any product under market, drewskiscards.com, I have a ton of really good stuff, including Evolving Skies ETBs, Mega boosters, all the products under the sun that you can imagine. Hidden Fates ETB, there is a tiny little micro tear in it. Take a picture of it if you're interested. And all kinds of other products, ancillary products on drewskiscards.com for under market. Go, check it out. All right, now into the video. Halt! Welcome back. New video. Tonight we are going to do a very quick rundown on the state of the market, what things look like, prices. I went live last night, answered a few questions. Thank you guys for everybody who joined. I wanted to reach a broader audience because I think this is an important lesson for people to learn. And the best way to do that is to put out some long form content where everybody can kind of see from a chart perspective how this all exactly works and plays out. Because it all plays out the same way every time. And if you're in the game of predicting and trying to get ahead of the curve, this is the best way to do it. So let's jump in to some of the data. Okay, so what we have here, obviously, Team Up Booster Box. And that's what we're gonna be looking at tonight is a variety of booster boxes and kind of talking through the charts and just explaining what I'm seeing, and then hopefully you guys can give me some feedback on what you might be seeing differently in the comments. Or if you agree with me, would love to hear that too. So Team Up Booster Box sitting right around $10,000. And of course, you know, with a high quality product like this is a discussion we got into last night during the live stream. Was a lot of these products do end up moving at shows, off of market. It's a very obviously high ticket item, and the importance of quality and making sure there are no hidden tears, there's no rips, there's no funny business going on are of the utmost importance. You also want to make sure that when you're buying an item like this, you're getting it from someone who you trust, who has a good reputation, and who you can ensure doesn't have anything that might be fake that they were trying to pass off as authentic. Going back to that theme, which we've touched on many times. So what we'll see here on the chart, and this is a 6-month chart, all the charts we're going to look at tonight are going to be that 6-month variety. What you can see is a slow climb over the last 6 months since July, and of course, a slow drip in terms of volume, one here, one there, usually once a month, but that slow drip back up to highs. Now, this is going to be pretty consistent among most items beyond Scarlet and Violet, even Sword and Shield, and we'll dive into some of those and how they're making a move back. But of course, since July, with the market continuing to make new highs, with small pullbacks here and there on certain products and certain PSA 10s, of course, when you have premier products like the very best set, in my opinion, in most people's opinion, from Sun and Moon, being Team Up, you're going to have the belle of the ball, which is the booster box, continuing to make climbs every step of the way. Now, one thing I would urge you to take note of with this specific chart that may be a bit different from some of the other charts that we're going to look at is this one very closely resembles that of a stock market chart. And that is because this is a mature product. It has multiple years on market. You know, Team Up, it came out in 2019. So basically, you know, we're damn near 7 years of this product being out because it released February 1. And of course, with more mature products, you have more mature charts. And this is a consistent winner because it's the most popular set in the era, and it is the booster box, which is going to always carry the most weight in terms of Pokemon products. Quick look there at the Team Up booster box. Cosmic Eclipse, very similar in nature, right around $4,000 for Cosmic Eclipse. This is more of the same. The chart looks very similar. When you get little bits of volume that tick in, I would assume this is just one. Yeah, so one box sold here and there. You're gonna have the consistent move upward. These are two of the best sets, probably the two best sets, arguably from Sun and Moon. The booster box is what you're looking at. These are going to continue to tick higher and higher and higher. So I'm not putting any price predictions out there tonight. I don't really feel like doing that. If you are interested in seeing some price predictions, go back and watch my live from last night. I give you all my thoughts on Destined Rivals, Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, all those various products that are a little bit newer. I give you my thoughts on where those might be going, even the 151 booster bundles. We took a look at those. Evolving Skies. This is where the lessons can be had for those who are unfamiliar with the stock market and how price and behavior, human psychology typically interact with one another. I've been trading since 2017, 2018 timeframe. All the charts really do operate in very similar fashion. If you go back and look at anything that moves in a parabolic way, this would be pretty much all of the booster boxes from Sword and Shield onward. You get that huge influx of volume back in the summertime. June, July is when things really hit a fever pitch. You can still see, obviously, there was some pretty decent volume happening into even late August. And that's when we hit all-time highs right around $2,600. I know that's when a lot of people were saying, oh, we're just gonna keep on going higher and higher. We're gonna be at 3K any minute now. That's typically not how it works, especially when you have something that went from, I think Evolving Skies at the beginning of the year was maybe $400, $500. Yeah, you might get a 3-4x movement when things go parabolic, but they will eventually slow down. And that's kind of what you saw into the fall right here. The volume not only ticked down, but the price started to track with the volume, which is exactly how a stock works on the stock market. When you have big price expansion along with a coupling of volume expansion, you're going to get a really nice upward trend that should be consistent even when there are dry spots, like in these 2 weeks where only a couple boxes sold. They continue to push higher because there was just more demand for the item. Then when people get a little bit tired and that price expansion wears out and you start to get that volume dying down, that's when you start to see that pullback. Now, this was a pretty sizable pullback. 2,600 to 2,200 is what, right around 20% drop. But then as soon as you get a 20% drop and the holidays are over, this literally was the week after Christmas, 15 boxes sold, huge price spike. Same thing the next week, 12 boxes sold. And as soon as you get the volume spikes, typically price will follow. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. My guess is over the next few weeks to few months, we will start to see a move back towards all-time highs. Some booster boxes from the Sword and Shield era have already made that move. And so we'll take a look at one of those next. And I think this next chart that we're gonna look at is what the Evolving Skies chart is gonna look like in maybe even just a couple months. Could be, 4 or 5 months, but I think more than likely with Ascended Heroes coming out in a few weeks and just the excitement that's gonna be going on with Pokemon itself, I think you are gonna start seeing the money pouring back into these really high quality Sword and Shield booster boxes. And if that's a play that you're interested in making and you've been kind of twiddling your thumbs and deciding if it's the right move for you, now might be the time so that you can realize, or I guess technically you would be unrealizing the gains, but you would at least be taking part in making some of those gains with all of the other holders of that booster box. So Brilliant Stars. This is exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned when you see volume spikes, you typically get price expansion. Again, same exact chart, 6-month chart right here. As you can see, we had volume spike into the summer, into the early fall. We made all-time highs, and then volume dried up. Volume dried up. You started to see a little bit pick up here, and that's why it started to curl, and then it really died off for about a couple months, especially going into December. And these, Brilliant Stars, some of the other sets, Silver Tempest, not Fusion Strike or Lost Origin, but some of these secondary, I guess what you would call still A tier, but not S tier sets from Sword and Shield, they started to behave a lot of the same way. Then you had what I think is probably a buyout. We had 40 boxes sell at the end of November, and that's when you got that huge volume and price spike from $415 to $500. It sat there even with the volume not doing much, and since then, a little bit of volume pickup, and of course, price expansion back to all-time highs. We are now officially at all-time highs on Brilliant Stars, which in, I think, pretty much everyone's opinion is not the very best set from Sword and Shield, but it is one of those sets where investors saw value. They probably saw the exact same chart that we just saw with the Evolving Skies, and of course, they took action, like many of you should be doing, and pulled the trigger on buying a really nice set from Sword and Shield. And of course, buying the Belle of the Ball, that booster box, is going to be your best bet for seeing consistent returns on the longer term scale. So I think we'll probably continue to see all-time highs. Maybe it stays around 575, tracks towards 600 for a little bit. And then of course, when Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, those S tier sets start to make all-time highs, the rest of the group follows. That's just how it works. Works the same way in the stock market. If we're looking at the nuclear basket, if we're looking at EVs, if we're looking at cannabis, any sector, when the very top stock starts to make moves upward, typically those secondary stocks follow. They may not make the exact same percentage gain, but they will follow as well. It's just the herd mentality. That is how it all works. Works the exact same way in TCGs. Let's move into Scarlet and Violet and look at one set that will be rotating out here in the next 3 months. Paldea Evolved, SBO2, everybody's favorite Mr. P, as Rudy says. We look here at the 6-month chart. We had that really big parabolic move. Again, heavy volume from summer into early fall. Every single chart is the exact same. All-time highs, parabolic move, volume dries up there, as you can see, in those fall months, heading into the holidays, and what do you know? Right before Christmas on this bad boy, the investors came in, 61 items here, 57 items here, could be a buyout, who knows, could just be, maybe it was a Discord group, not sure, it doesn't matter. All that matters is when you do have heavy volume come in, what you will typically see is price follows volume. So if you're trying to get ahead of the curve, if you want to be ahead of the herd and that price expansion, be part of the group that buys. Always follow the money. Follow the money. If there's any lesson to take away from this video, that is the most important one. When you see heavy volume come into anything, a stock, a TCG, an item, that is typically a sign that it is going to move higher and higher. And that's what we see. We are back at 400 on Mr. P. We aren't back to 470 by any means. Guys, watch what happens over the next couple months. I'm not gonna say anything. I told you I'm not gonna give price predictions. Watch what happens the next couple months to Paldea Evolved booster boxes, Scarlet and Violet base booster boxes. We're already starting to see some of it take place right now. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy, as they say, and you can go Google what that means. Google, your best friend when it comes to some of these things. This is going to be another self-fulfilling prophecy. Mr. P is a good one to pick up right now if you have not done so already. Scarlet and Violet base. When we moved from Sword and Shield over to Scarlet and Violet, this was a very heavily scrutinized set. There wasn't a ton of excitement. The silver borders were something that people really could not get entirely behind, and there was just not a lot of excitement in the Pokemon space around Scarlet and Violet base, and I get it. The herd had not come in, and that's when you really could have been making your hay, was back in early 2023 when this set first came out, March 2023 timeframe, scooping up these booster boxes for the cheap and holding on to them. So we'll take a look at a little bit more recent time frame. Obviously, we're looking at the 6-month chart. That is what we have been looking at the entire time. Volume picked up from July to early fall. We saw all-time highs right around that 250. The volume didn't completely die, but it did kind of stagnate, and Scarlet and Violet base kind of just fell from grace along with a lot of the other sets. It had that Ides of Fall autumn kind of pullback that we see with all the other sets. And the interesting thing to take note of here, which I just mentioned with Paldea Evolved, if you're following along, this is a very consistent trend, and trend is your friend. So make sure that if you want to do your own due diligence and you want to be able to spot these types of things before everyone else does, these are what you should be picking up on. We had that 3-week stretch in late November, early December, where a bunch of these boxes started to get scooped up. The buyer positivity came back in that low 200 range, 34 boxes, 43 boxes, 27 boxes. And what do you know, shortly, a few weeks after all that volume came in and dried up a little bit, another spike came in for 53 boxes, and we are at all-time highs. This is my shocked face. Guys, this is consistent across all markets. All these charts is human psychology visualized with a line. On the stock market, a lot of people use candlesticks rather than a straight line like you're seeing here on TCG Player. Sometimes I kind of wish they would use candlesticks because it's a valuable tool when observing a chart, but it's the same thing. They all follow the same behavior because it's just human psychology on a line chart. And so you will see this over and over and over. And when you have pullbacks like we saw from September to early December, and then volume spikes, pick some things up. You can't do it now because it's at all-time highs, but you can find other sets on your own and do your own due diligence and your own hunting. These are tools in your toolkit to make you just more dangerous moving forward. Last booster box we're gonna look at. One of my favorites. I will openly admit that this is the set that I am most heavily invested in. This is, of the booster boxes from Scarlet and Violet, my biggest holding is Prismatic and 151, but those are specialty sets and we don't have booster boxes there. My biggest holding in booster box set, main set, is not actually in Destined Rivals, which I think will probably be the crown jewel from Scarlet and Violet, despite it not rotating out for another year and 3 months. However, this is where I saw some of that deep value that I had just been mentioning. And I talk about it in one of my old videos, but this is one of those sets that got hit by the vending machine effect. And what do I mean by that? These booster boxes went into vending machines across the country. And typically when that happens, that just means that they didn't want to do the reprint through Pokemon.com and release it on the Pokemon Center. They wanted to do it through their other outlet, which is the vending machines. Now, what is a commonality with those vending machines? Well, scalpers typically are the ones who get to be the ones taking the most advantage because they're there the most often. And of course, what do scalpers do when they pick boxes up for MSRP at $171 after tax in the state of Kentucky? Could be different in your state. $161 MSRP, you get my point. They list it on the market for as cheap as they possibly can. And so what happened was, we obviously had huge volume taking place. This was a $300 box at one time, guys. In September was a $300 box, right? And it fell very, very hard. We're talking 30%. It was a fall from almost 35%. Huge, huge. What would definitely be considered a recession in the stock market. This was in its own product recession, so to speak. I'm not coining that term, that's not mine, but that is exactly what was happening here. And when that happened, when it got put into the vending machines in September, it dropped like a rock. And that was exactly when I jumped in, because I knew that $200 for this set is ridiculous. And if you were someone like me who doesn't think we're gonna go back to MSRP on any of these sets and the booster box product specifically, $200 is an absolute no-brainer. This is the set that started it all, the set that really moved the market back in late 2024 and got people excited again about picking these up. And I think that holds some weight. I also think you have the mascot for the IP with Pikachu on the box. That is also the hit of the box. The people call the butthole of Backshot Pikachu, whatever name you want to give, a gimmicky name. My point is, you have the mascot, you have Latias, you have some other really cool artworks in this set, and that holds weight. It will long term. And although it's not going out of rotation for another year and a few months, it felt like a really good buy. And I don't think that right now is the absolute perfect time, but as you can see, we had that massive spike in volume in late November. I think this is when they started to take these out of the machines. 111 boxes in 1 week. Very small pullback, and now we have that price expansion. We're at $260. And guys, I'm not gonna give my prediction because it is one of my bigger holdings and I don't wanna shill anything. Watch what happens over the next few months. We can revisit this maybe close to March, maybe the end of March, when the first block of Scarlet and Violet is going out of rotation in competitive play. And I think you will see a self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-fulfilling chart. I'll show you on my arrow with my little mouse here. I think we're gonna be in this general vicinity. I won't say it out loud, but I have a strong hunch. But that's it. I just wanted to talk about the booster box. I think that is an important lesson. Just going through the booster boxes and really looking at how those charts operate, how human psychology works. Those are very simple general principles that I have learned over the 9 years that I have not only been actively trading in the stock market, but I've also just been a silent observer for many years. I traded options, I traded equities, I've traded I've traded pretty much anything you can trade: crypto, gold, assets, pretty much anything that you can buy and sell on an open market. I have dabbled with, and options were really my bread and butter. And so I've looked at a ton of different charts, so I know how this works. It works the exact same way in the TCG space. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully we can come with some more market content. I do want to put out a video and cover what I was talking about with the booster box to raw booster pack price and how you can take advantage of getting ahead of some of those things. We will cover that in another video, but I don't want this to go too long. And of course, I know everybody, attention and time spans have to be cut tight. But thank you all for joining me. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you got anything out of this video, let me know in the comments if you appreciated it. If you feel like you learned something from it, would love to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comment section below and I will absolutely get back to you. It doesn't matter if it's something nasty. I typically try and hearten like every single comment that comes in. Doesn't really matter, it helps me with engagement and it pushes it out to more people who hopefully will also take some value from it. Drewski'sCards.com if you guys need any sealed product. I have everything from Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, and Mega on the website for under market price. Please know that you can buy confidently from me. I will get it protected, shipped out safely, quickly, and it will be at your door in tip-top shape. So that is all I got. I'll see you guys in another one soon. Peace out.